Yo, 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 what is up, everybody in the Tab Nation? It's your guy, Corey Dub C. Richardson, here with another week of waiver wire pickups. We're going to talk a little bit about week five. Hopefully, you got the dub. If not, then I completely understand because at the end of the day, I have a public service announcement. We have to quit taking fantasy football so serious. I used to be one of those people like, man, I need to win every week. I need to make sure I got the best lineup, blah, blah. At the end of the day, man, a lot of this is truly and genuinely out of your control. Relax, have fun, and let's just get into it. So, with that being said, man, as you guys already know, my name is Corey Dub C. Richardson. I am here to help you all get the dubs week in and week out as much as we possibly can, man. I give you the information. I can tell you who to start and sit, and then we just got to sit there and let the players do what they got to do. With that, I am going to cut our videos a lot shorter. I used to do a weekly rundown and we would go through every single game and what players didn't do good and our matchups and injuries. We're not going to do that anymore because half you guys don't even watch those kind of videos. And I want to respect your time. So we're going to try to keep it under 15 minutes and we're going to get straight into it. Our first waiver wire pickup, man. So this isn't so much of a yo, you need to go get this guy for the rest of the season. This is more of a weekly matchup kind of ordeal. But I want to start this video off by saying I think we are seeing a changing of the guard when it comes to fantasy football and football in general with the NFL. These last few years, we have seen the scrambling quarterback, the mobile quarterback sort of take off. You know, your Lamar Jacksons, your Jalen Hurts, those were the guys you just had to have. And I'm still behind those guys, don't get me wrong, and Jaden Daniels. But we're starting to see the return of the gunslingers, man, and I'm liking it. You know, the first guy we're going to talk about today is Matthew Stafford. He has been super consistent this season, extremely underrated. And it's crazy to say that he's only 60% rostered in fantasy leagues on Sleeper, which is, just crazy because I guess we have gotten so just so used to Matthew Stafford just being that 12 to 15 point quarterback and you just sort of throw him in when you need him. But let's look at his numbers these last 2 weeks. Indianapolis has a great defense. Matthew Stafford put up 27 against them. San Francisco, they're extremely banged up, but Matthew Stafford went out there and put 24 up against them. Even going back to week two, Tennessee, 17 points. Philly, he put up 14. Philly is one of the top defenses. Houston, that first week, he only had 12. But this coming week, he has the Baltimore Ravens. We're talking about an easy, easy Baltimore Ravens defense who's been giving up. They've been abysmal against QBs this year. They're giving up 24 points a game. I'm highly recommending you go out there and grab Matthew Stafford, especially if you got a quarterback on a bye or maybe you had Lamar Jackson who was banged up and you're trying to figure out who to play. Go out there and grab Matthew Stafford, man. Don't miss out on this guy. This dude is slinging the rock. Puka Nakua is having a phenomenal season. He's looking like Cooper Cup that year that he won the Triple Crown. So I'm highly recommending going out and grabbing Matthew Stafford. Our next quarterback, another gunslinger, guys. I'm telling you, man, we're going back into those old school football days where the running backs are just being heavy hitters and you're getting a lot of gunslingers. And Sam Darnold, we were all questioning, is Sam Darnold going to be able to do what he did in Minnesota, again in Seattle? And Sam Darnold's looking us in our eyes and saying, I don't see Ghost anymore. I hired the Ghostbusters and we are getting busy. And that's what we're seeing with Sam Darnold. 2 weeks now, actually, 4 weeks. Going back to week two, he had 17 against Pittsburgh. Week three against New Orleans, 16. Week four against Arizona, 15. And then this past week, they needed him to step up and show out. And what did he do? He came out there and threw four tutties, buddy. And he went and just showed out against Tampa Bay. And he had 28.64 points. You can't ask for better than that. He gets the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Jacksonville has been pretty good against quarterbacks, but at the end of the day, man, I'm still liking some Sam Darnold. And I have some more weapons that I'm going to bring up of Sam Darnold because he's been balling out so much. One is the young rookie Torrey Horton. I brought him up a couple of weeks ago, and he had a dud week four, so a lot of people probably dropped him. But then he came back around week five, and he got in the end zone again. This is 3 weeks out of the 5 weeks, he's found the end zone. It's not like they're not looking for this guy. He's 6'2", 296 pounds. He was a big, crucial piece of the Colorado offense. Colorado State, I want to say, not Colorado Buffs. We all know who the Colorado Buffs had last year. But in Colorado State, he was a huge part of their offense, man. He was their go getter. Like they needed points or they needed to play, they would go to Torrey Holton. So he sort of slid under the radar because of all the other big name receivers that came out this past year and running backs. But Torrey Holton is someone to not be slept on. He's starting to get more and more looks, more. He's sitting at that 50% snaps. And we got 4 targets, 3 receptions this past week, and another tutty. I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I think it's only a matter of time before he gets more playing time. They love him in Seattle, and he has a connection with Sam Darnold. Next up, man, we're going with Ryan Flournoy. Ryan Flournoy. So check this out, guys. This is not one of those flash in the pan kind of players like, oh, we're bringing him up now because he had that big game against the Jets. No, look, going back into Week 4, if anybody was watching that Green Bay game, that game was a heavy hitter. They brought up Ryan Flournoy and they brought up how Dak Prescott loves this kid. They said he's extremely smart, he's extremely efficient, and he can get the job done when need be. We all thought that we were going to see um, Jalen Tolbert step into that role since CeeDee Lamb's out for a few weeks. And then we thought maybe it would be Cavante Turbin. But no, Ryan Flournoy, he only had 57% of the snaps and he got 9 targets. Where you had Jalen Turbert, I'll pull him up really fast. Jalen Turbert had 77% of the snaps and only had 1 target. That says a lot. That says that they trust Ryan Flournoy, and going forward, I would put my trust in him until CeeDee Lamb comes back. And even after CeeDee Lamb comes back, we could see this be somewhat of that third receiver that could just blow up at any given time. But going into Carolina next week, Carolina is giving up some huge numbers, 9 targets. Let's see, looking at my notes here. But at the end of the day, 1 second, guys, I'm going to pull it up. Right now against receivers, Carolina is giving up 23 points to receivers, which isn't the sexiest, but they will have a lot of that tension. They do have a number one cornerback there in Carolina, but that number two spot is where they can really eat. So I would look at grabbing Ryan Flournoy out for your waivers if he's there. He's obviously 0% owned right now, so definitely have a chance of grabbing him there. Next up, we had a huge injury happen with the Chargers. We say that every week, and it's sad, man, because the Chargers are in. I'm a huge Broncos fan, and they're in our division. But it's sad because they do have a team every year, but every year they just get beat up by injuries. I don't know what it is, but every year they lose crucial players and injuries. They lost offensive linemen, they losing defenders. Now this past week they lost Amari and Hampton, and they lost Najee Harris before that. So Mario Hampton went to IR, and everybody's wondering who's going to be the next man up. Hassan Haskins was the third running back on the depth chart, and Kamani Vidal was on the practice squad. We saw this same thing this past week where the Cardinals had Amari DiMarcado as a third running back, and Michael Carter was a backup. He was on the practice squad. I think we're going to see the same thing here where Haskins was more of a special teams kind of role kind of guy, and Kamani Vidal, we can't sleep on. He was actually drafted by their head coach. Harbaugh actually went out and drafted this guy, and Vidal. If you go back and look at his draft profile, there was a lot of teams that said he could get the job done if he needed to be put into his role. He was a workhorse running back in college. He was a little bit, he's on the smaller side, and he had some things that work on in his game, but I think this is his moment to sign. I'm putting my money on Vidal going into this game against Miami, where there's going to be a lot of points to be had. If you hit on Vidal, you could get some great outing. You could get some great points. We're going to continue to monitor that situation and see what we listen or see what some of the insiders are saying and what they're hearing. But I'm still putting my money on Kamani Vidal for the time being. If things change, I will give you guys an update there. Next up, we have Michael Carter. We were just talking about this Arizona situation. No one really knew who would be the starter going into that week after they lost Trey Benson the following or the week previous. The answer was clear. Michael Carter was the guy to own. He came out and he had a phenomenal game. 18 carries. He didn't have too many yards, but he did get in the house. He did get in the end zone, had 51 yards. But the thing I like seeing is he had 5 targets, 5 receptions for 22 yards. And honestly, Dima Carter sort of threw that game away for the Cardinals. I'm not going to say it was just all on him, but if you guys weren't aware, then you're living under a rock. But D. Mercado took off for a 50-something yard tutty, and he was right there, inches away from the goal line, and he let the ball go right before the end zone. My thing is, I've watched it play a couple of times. I still think that he was past the goal line before the ball came loose, but they said it was early and it was a turnover. Went to the excuse me, went to the Tennessee Titans and they went on to win that game. But it looks like Michael Carter is going to be the running back to have going forward. So if he's still out there, he's only 59% rostered on sleeper leagues. So if he's out there, I definitely recommend grabbing him. Going into tight ends, this guy is another one of Sam Darnold's products. He has been taking off constantly, consistently these last few weeks. He went from week one only getting 2 targets, 1 reception, to now this past week against Tampa Bay, where they did have to, the Seahawks did have to throw the ball a lot more. So there was a higher threshold for him to make more plays, but he has 7 targets, 7 receptions. This guy doesn't drop the ball. It's AJ Barner at tight end. If you need a tight end, I highly recommend going out and grabbing him. He had 2 tutties in this game. Who's the Chargers running back to pick up? We just went over. Yeah. So I'm going once again. My call right now is Kamani Vidal. I really think Kamani Vidal, like I said, he was drafted by Harbaugh himself. I'm putting my money on Vidal. It's either Vidal or Haskins. I'm going to continue to monitor that situation as the day goes along to see if there's any insiders saying anything else. But I'm still putting my money on Vidal there. Getting back to tight ends, AJ Barner. I know, Mrs. Hood, you've been looking for a tight end. You got AJ Barner once again, 7 targets here, 7 receptions, 2 tutties. The previous week in week 4, he had another touchdown there. So I can think you can grab him. Another tight end to look at is Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor, 12 targets, man. Him and Justin Fields are starting to get a very good rapport going. And you had 12 targets from Mason Taylor this past week. They don't have many people. I grabbed Waller last week. Great pickup there. Great pickup with Waller. Okay, so you're good there. Anybody else looking for a tight end? You do have Mason Taylor, 7 targets in week 4, 12 targets in week 5. His targets have just been going up week in and week out. He is a rookie and he is getting consistent targets. Someone dropped Njoku too. Ooh, so you have a lot of options there. Njoku, you know, we always say this, especially in the Angry Vets, is any rookie quarterback's best friend is going to be his tight ends. And we saw that this past week with Njoku, and then you do have Fan in there as well. I wouldn't, if you have somebody to drop, right now Njoku would be a great pickup. Waller has been phenomenal. You want to be cognizant of him because he does get hurt. But right now, Waller is a weekly pick in or a weekly play. And then also, guys, like I said, Mason Taylor right here is getting more and more targets. It's weird. What we're seeing right now is more offenses are going to this old school philosophy where they want to get the running backs involved. And once those running backs are getting heavy carries, you're starting to see more tight ends being able to escape on the play actions. And this is what we're seeing with the Jets. This is what we're seeing with the Browns are trying to get Junkins involved a lot more, which is opening up those tight ends. They don't have to stay in their block because they can come out on play actions. That's going to free up these quarterbacks to make easier throws. Justin Fields, this is what we saw at the end of the game. They were doing so much running that Mason Taylor started opening up on the play action. So we're talking football now. And then lastly, we're gonna wrap this cast up. Man, so we used to do this every week, and I'm gonna get back to doing it. Is our Tutty Buddy of the week, somebody that just really showed up and showed out for us. It was Rico Dottle. I haven't. It's been so long since we just seen somebody get 23 carries and 206 yards and a touchdown. It was a hard fought 206 yards. You love seeing it. And then on top of that, he added 3 receptions for 28 yards. I am going to stick with Rico Dottle going forward this year. If he's out there, he's 71% rostered, so he's not really a waiver wire pickup. It's just he's our Tutty Buddy of the week. And if you guys have any other questions, I will be making a post about all these players with some good insight and breakdowns on why I chose these players. Please continue to ask questions. We want to get you guys back winning, especially you, Kerry. You've been supporting us since the get go. Let's get your season back on the right track. Other than that, God is good, man, and I appreciate all you guys supporting us, and we're going to continue to move forward. Other than that, see you guys later. Peace. Thank you.